countries, this is an example of how countries sign and ratify the UN Convention, but don't necessarily implement them. And I don't think that you could argue that children's lives are better in Ethiopia today than they are in the United States. So clearly, without ratifying it, we do a lot more for children. But anyone know why the U.S. is resistant to the ratification?
Bueno, hay una teoría en donde...
No, I understand. Yeah.
Hay una teoría que ciertos grupos de familias conservadoras ven a la convención como un elemento cuestionador al poder de los adultos y no verían con beneplácito el hecho de que los chicos tengan derechos, porque tiene una amenaza para este grupo, que es un grupo conservador que tiene mucha incidencia en el nivel político.
Yeah,
That's right?
that's right, that's right. And that's the biggest resistance to actually getting the U.S. to ratify the CRC is that the conservative groups are afraid of relinquishing parental control over family matters. Yeah. So we continue, okay, so that's the thinking in the U.S., and some of these groups are very powerful. But that also is a way of saying that each of these conventions holds different issues in each country, right? And so how we see childhood and the appropriate place of children, right, varies from country to country. So if we say, for example, FGM, female genital mutilation, so most people, this is widely practiced in African countries. If we say, no, that's very bad, we're not understanding the cultural context of this, right? And what the issues are. So it's it's a delicate balance to promote children's rights and also to respect cultures and traditions within the country. Okay, so let me move on. So you see they've all either signed or ratified the convention, and that essentially tells me that this doesn't help us do any kind of analysis. All right, so I looked for a different way of understanding social protection, and Devereaux and Sabates Wheeler a few years ago came up with this framework. And instead of the social insurance, social assistance, social services, and social justice, they say, let's look at it differently. Let's look at programs that we'll call provision, which is really just to help people survive from one day to the next, right? So that's where most of the social assistance programs would be. It could be food, it could be clothing, it could be housing, it could be cash, but it's really just to help people survive, right? And then there are preventive programs, and those are risk-oriented. The idea is to modify risk with these programs. That's where pension programs and unemployment programs and health insurance programs go. And then there are promotion, which is to enhance incomes and capabilities in the short term and in the long term. So what program is a good example of that? CCTs, right? Conditional cash transfers. Because they give you immediate cash, but we're also thinking long term in those kinds of programs. And the last of this category is what they call transformative programs, which we don't see a lot of. But those are programs really to change the life course and opportunities of people. So they address the inequity or social inequities and try to change them and give people the right to participate in their communities. It's more rights-based programming. Okay. Okay. And so sometimes they can take on advocacy roles as well as social protection. So I can't see this. Can you see this? No? Okay. Too bad. All right. Well, I'll tell you what it says. Okay. It's not showing up. It's very colorful. So what I did was very basic. I looked at all the different types of programs, social protection programs, in each of the countries, and I classified them as to the Devereux-Sabates-Wheeler framework, right? And so what you would see is that each country has a different emphasis. Indonesia being the only one who has a sizable portion of programs in all four of the categories. Ethiopia and Ethiopia and Ghana have no transformative programs, okay, to date. And Bangladesh has some transformative programs, but not as much emphasis, okay. Both Indonesia and Bangladesh have emphasis on promotive programs, right? But Indonesia and Ghana have emphasis on promotive and preventive programs. So they have the social insurance in place, and they also have the programs in place to enhance capabilities.